I was 22 when my parents died in a car crash. One moment I was in college, worrying about finals, and the next I was standing in black beside the only woman I had left, my Aunt Marissa. She raised me since I was 10. After Mom and Dad's accident, I thought I'd at least have clarity about the future. Closure. Something solid to hold on to. But I was wrong. The lawyer's office smelled like paper and dust. My fingers were cold as I sat between Aunt Marissa and her husband, Uncle Pete, who kept glancing at his watch like this whole thing was wasting his time. Mr. Carrillo, the family attorney, cleared his throat and opened a thick folder. "This is the last will and testament of Benjamin and Celeste Rivera," he began. I leaned forward. "As stipulated, all liquid assets, properties, and investments are to be transferred to their only child, Isabel Rivera, under the administration of her legal guardian until she turns 25. I blinked. "Wait, what?" "Sorry," I interrupted. "What does under the administration of her legal guardian mean?" Mr. Carrillo looked up, slightly surprised. "It means your inheritance is being held in a managed trust. Your guardian, Aunt Marissa, is in charge of managing it until you reach 25. I turned to her. "You never told me that." She smiled tightly. "You were grieving, Belle. I didn't want to overwhelm you." Overwhelm me? That was 3 years ago, and in those 3 years, she never once mentioned the inheritance. She told me there wasn't much left, that debts had eaten through it. But that wasn't what the will said. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt betrayed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed replaying every moment from the lawyer's office. The way Aunt Marissa gripped my hand a little too tightly. The way Uncle Pete kept avoiding eye contact. The words under the administration of her legal guardian echoed in my head like a warning siren. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen, sipping her imported coffee. Yes, imported. I started noticing the little luxuries more now. Her manicured nails, her new designer purse, the gold watch she never used to wear. I sat across from her and asked plainly, "How much did Mom and Dad leave for me?" She didn't look up from her mug. "Enough. But most of it went into managing the house, your education, living costs. You know how it is." "I've been on a scholarship since sophomore year." She blinked. "And you said we were tight on money when I asked about studying abroad." Her smile returned, cool, measured. "Belle, sweetheart, I've only ever done what's best for you. Managing money isn't as easy as it looks." "You never mentioned a trust fund." "Well," she said, her voice rising ever so slightly, "because I didn't want you to get entitled. Money changes people." "Or reveals them," I muttered. Her eyes narrowed. "Don't take that tone with me. I raised you when no one else stepped up." And there it was, the classic guilt card. "I'm just asking questions," I said, "because I think I deserve answers." Her tone changed, syrupy sweet, the kind that made my stomach twist. "It's all for your future, sweetheart. Just trust me." But I didn't. Not anymore. And I planned to find out just how deep this lie went. I waited until the house was empty. Aunt Marissa was at her yoga class, and Uncle Pete had driven out to check on a property, whatever that meant. I told them I had a paper to finish and stayed behind. The moment the door clicked shut, I went straight to the study. Her office always gave me the creeps. Too clean, too controlled, no personal photos, just files, pens, a desk that looked like no one actually used it, except for the locked drawer. It was the only one that didn't open freely. I'd noticed it before, but never questioned it. Until now. I knelt down and examined the tiny keyhole. Then I pulled out the small pick set I'd bought last week off Amazon, just in case. My fingers trembled as I tried the technique I'd practiced on my bedroom drawer. Click, the drawer slid open. Inside, folders, neatly labeled. One read, Isabel Rivera, Estate. I pulled it out, heart pounding. Bank statements, transfer forms, dates, amounts, tens of thousands, sometimes more, withdrawn, transferred, spent, all under her name. But one thing made my stomach drop. She had closed the original account under my parents' names 2 months after their funeral and opened a new one with her name as the primary holder. I was listed only as a beneficiary upon death. My throat went dry. This wasn't just oversight. This was theft, cold, calculated, and personal. I snapped photos of every page with my phone, placed everything back exactly how I found it, locked the drawer again, and walked out like nothing happened. But nothing was the same after that. Not me. Not this house. Not her. I started paying attention more. to her calls, her visits from friends, the whispered conversations she thought I couldn't hear, and I noticed a pattern. She's always been a handful, she said once to her bridge group on speakerphone, not realizing I was in the hallway. So emotional, so unstable. Poor thing never really recovered after the accident. Another time, when a family friend called to ask about me, I overheard her say, "She's just not cut out for responsibilities. Honestly, it's better I keep handling the finances." I felt like I was watching someone impersonate me in a movie. Only this version of me was fragile, irrational, borderline incapable. It all clicked the day I ran into Tita Loida at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me. "Belle, I thought you were still in therapy." "Therapy?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Marissa said you needed time away, that you were overwhelmed, maybe even, well, she didn't say it directly, but that you were struggling with reality." My blood ran cold. That explained the way some family friends looked at me, the concerned glances, the pity. The way no one ever brought up the will or the money. She had spent years creating a narrative where I was too broken to trust, too unstable to manage my own inheritance. And the worst part? They believed her. Because Aunt Marissa could cry on cue. She could play the grieving, devoted aunt like an Oscar-winning actress. And me? I was just the orphaned niece with a fragile mind. Well, if she wanted unstable, I'd give her a version of me she'd never forget. I found Mr. Carrillo's business card tucked inside one of my old folders from the funeral. I called him the next morning, my voice shaking but firm. "Mr. Carrillo, this is Isabel Rivera. We met a few years ago, after my parents' passing." "Of course, Isabel," he said. "How can I help you?" I didn't hesitate. "I need to know the original terms of my parents' will, not the edited version, not what Aunt Marissa's been telling me. The truth." There was a pause. Then, "Can you come to my office tomorrow at 10? We'll talk in person. Bring any documents you have." I barely slept that night. The next morning, I arrived early, folder in hand, filled with the photos I took of the bank statements, the trust documents, everything. Mr. Carrillo took one look at the documents and sighed. "I had a bad feeling," he muttered. "I warned her not to tamper with anything. Legally, the funds were never supposed to be transferred." "What do you mean? Your parents set up a trust, a proper one, with you as the sole beneficiary. The guardian role was just for guidance, not control. She wasn't allowed to spend the money, only to oversee it and provide basic support until you turned 25. I stared at him. "So, everything she's been spending, all the money she transferred, that's illegal," he finished, "and prosecutable." I leaned back in my seat, pulse pounding. "Can I get it back?" He looked me dead in the eye. "You have a case, a very strong one, but it won't be easy. Family cases never are." I thought of her face, the fake concern, the soft voice saying, "It's all for your future, sweetheart." And I smiled, cold and real this time. "I don't need easy," I said. "I just need justice." With Mr. Carrillo's help, I requested an audit of the trust and traced every single transaction. It was worse than I thought. She hadn't just dipped into the money occasionally. She drained it little by little over the years. Payments labeled education expenses that went straight into home renovations. Medical emergencies that magically aligned with her spa memberships. Vacations listed as family grief therapy. And then I found it. A separate account, opened 6 weeks after my parents' funeral. Under her name. Not the trust, not my name, just hers. And in it, over $600,000 in deposits that matched the missing funds from my inheritance. It was a hidden vault of everything she'd stolen from me, hoarded and disguised under personal investments. The only reason I found it was because she made a mistake. One of the transfer slips in the trust papers had the last 4 digits of the account listed. It wasn't even smart theft. It was greedy, sloppy entitlement. That night, I confronted her. She was sitting on the patio, wine glass in hand, laughing at something on her phone. I stood in the doorway and said, "How's your secret account doing?" She froze, turned slowly. "What did you say?" "I know. Everything. I saw the transfers, the withdrawals, even the fake expense labels." She tried to laugh. "You have no idea how complicated finances are, Belle. Don't embarrass yourself." I stepped closer. "I've spoken to Mr. Carrillo. I know the will. The trust, I know what you did." Her face dropped, and for the first time I saw it. Panic. Real, sharp panic. "You think anyone's going to believe you over me?" she hissed. "I raised you. I gave you everything." "No," I said. "You took everything. but I'm taking it back." She tried to play it off. Even after I confronted her, Aunt Marissa still wore that mask she'd perfected over the years. The concerned guardian, the victim of a misunderstanding. But I wasn't the scared little girl she'd gaslighted into silence anymore. The next morning, I walked into the bank with Mr. Carrillo by my side and filed an official claim to freeze the account. I submitted the paperwork, the photos, the forged documents, and the audit trail. The bank manager raised his eyebrows as he flipped through the evidence. "You understand this account will be investigated for fraud," he said. I nodded. "I'm counting on it." That same afternoon, we filed a civil suit. I didn't care if the entire town found out. In fact, I wanted them to. I wanted every person she'd ever lied to about me to see what she really was. The fallout was instant. She showed up at my door that night, mascara streaking, shaking in a faux panic. "Belle, please, we're family," she whispered. "You should have remembered that before you stole everything my parents left for me," I said, calm and steady. I can explain. "You will." To a judge. I shut the door in her face. I'm not naive. I know the court process will take months, maybe years. I know she'll fight, I know she'll play dirty, but this time, I've got the truth on my side. And the girl she raised to be quiet and obedient? She's gone. Now, I'm the woman who's going to burn every lie to the ground until there's nothing left but truth and justice. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. She arrived in a crisp beige suit, lips pursed, her lawyer whispering in her ear, but her eyes flicked toward me. And that was enough. That slight twitch, the panic she couldn't mask anymore. I had rows of documentation, statements, bank transfers, and Mr. Carrillo as my witness. But I also had something she didn't expect. Character witnesses. Tita Loida, a former employee she fired without pay. Even my old high school guidance counselor who once suspected something was off about how I suddenly couldn't afford basic supplies despite my parents being well off before the accident. The prosecution laid it all out. Fraud, misappropriation of funds, breach of fiduciary duty. Every time the jury heard the word stolen, she flinched. Every time I was described as the rightful heir, I sat a little taller. She tried to cry on the stand, claimed it was for my own good, that she invested in my future, that I was just confused. But when the forensic accountant took the stand and showed how she spent over $200,000 on luxury vacations, cosmetic procedures, and even a home extension labeled as Isabel's therapy wing, it was over. It took the jury 4 hours. She was found guilty on all counts of fraud and breach of trust. The court ordered her to repay every cent she stole, with interest. Her assets were frozen. Her reputation? Ruined. But the real win? The judge granted me full control over the estate. Retroactively. I got everything my parents intended for me, and more. I didn't cry when I left the courthouse. I smiled, not because I was happy she'd pay, but because I was free. Free from her lies, her manipulation, her control. I stood outside in the sun, holding the final court document in my hand, and thought of my parents. I did it. I protected what you left me. This was never just about money. It was about identity, and I finally got mine back.